All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Freedom Homestead and welcome to our last Beyond Labels Book Club meeting. Um, we want to thank all of you guys for joining us every week that we've had this, being part of the discussion, reading along the book, and we've learned so much from you all. I don't know if y'all have learned very much from us. Hopefully, you have. But because of how crazy things are right now, we have decided to make this the last meeting. We are all getting our homesteads ready. And I know pretty soon we're going to be harvesting and preserving and doing all of that stuff. So, um, over to my side here, we have Miss Constance from A Good Life Farm. Right here below me, we have Miss Anna from the Fermented Homestead. And then over here, we have Miss Julie from Row & Co Farms. And like I said, for the last several weeks, we have been discussing Beyond Labels by Joel Salatin and Sina McCullough. Joel being a regenerative farmer, Sina McCullough being a natural path.
Nutritionist. I think she's a nutritionist. Yeah.
Thank you. So we are going to start in section 4, and we're going to try to get through as much of the rest of the book within the hour as we can. So I want to take a quick second and say hello to everyone in the chat. Thank you so much for being here. There's Miss Kathy. And for those of you who are watching, be sure to give us a comment. Let us know how you're doing. And really quick before we get started, you ladies have anything you want to share with the people?
I'll share. It's been a crazy few weeks, you guys. This is not book related. It's just been life has been happening. We have so much going on our homestead, lots of planting, lots of new little animals running around. Just, man, my daughter graduated from high school, just lots of stuff. So I'm excited that we're back today and we get to finish up our book club because it's been a long few weeks and I've missed everybody a lot. So welcome back.
Can y'all hear? Okay, my audio cutting out, so I'm having technical difficulties. It's just par for the course today. Yeah, it's I'm taking a year off of going, but it is still, life is definitely busy. Lots of things going on. The projects never end, and of course, now I'm caring for my grandee while the son and daughter-in-law are at work. So that's a full-time job in and of itself, especially at this age. She's at that I want to be upright and part of everything, but can't sit up by myself yet stage. Yeah, I'm getting a workout.
For me, we just moved. We're now living in Missouri. We're living in Missouri, getting used to all the bugs and gross, weird stuff that happens in the South that doesn't happen in the North. And yeah, so I finally got internet going yesterday or the day before. At some
Just
point, we
in
got internet.
time.
Yeah, just in time. And so I'm trying to get back into the swing of making videos and stuff like that. And starting tomorrow, the garden is going to be going. Get the garden going. We're trying to get the house going because we got to get a bunch of stuff before the carpet gets installed. And so it's just a crazy whirlwind, all kinds of stuff happening, which is why we cannot actually do the book clubs for much more longer.
Yep. And here, of course, we're working on getting the garden going, and we are working really hard on trying to wrap up some of our projects on our house, mainly sanding the sunroom. And for those of you who don't know, we have shiplap in the addition that we have built, and we did not realize until it was too late that the stain that they were putting on was the wrong color, and we love natural wood. And so we are in the process of sanding it all off. And so there is dust in everything and in everywhere. So we're really, really trying hard to get that done. And it is very time consuming. So yeah, so that's one of the reasons why we decided to go ahead and just wrap this up. And we know that a lot of you are also homesteaders, gardeners. And so we know that it's also a really busy time for you guys. But we have discussed, so stay tuned for any announcements that might be made. That if we do this again, fall, winter, when it's cold and we can't really do a lot outside, it would be a really good time to maybe try another one. It probably won't be hosted on my channel, but one of the ladies might want to host one. So just stay tuned, and we'll see if something comes of that later on in the year. Okay, so getting on into section 4, meet your neighbor. Now, in our community, there is a lot of talk of self-sufficiency or being self-resilient. But the truth is, we need community. We need community. And so whether you're a prepper or not, being able to source food locally is so important. And if the supply chain goes to crap more than it already has, and you go looking for a local farmer, don't be surprised if you have a hard time finding one, because we have been relying on the big box stores. Farmers are disappearing because they can't make money. They can't make a living. So if you want to have that resource, it's a good time to start tapping into it. All right. So chapter 6, shift from whole food to locally grown whole food. So what is the difference between the whole food I buy from the store and the whole food that I can get from my local farmer?
I think it's a matter of having that relationship with them and actually knowing where the food is coming from. Whereas opposed to if you're buying it in the grocery store, you don't know where it's actually coming from, if it's actually organic or what have you. And in my particular case, that becomes its own challenge, just because there's really not organic farmers around other than me and my own garden. There is a small CSA in the area who does organic practices. They're not certified or anything like that, but that's just about it. There's just not much around here. So it's a challenge, but it just makes me want to expand my garden even more.
It's kind of the same. Oh, go ahead, Julie.
No, Anna, go ahead.
I was just going to say it's kind of the same. It seems to be kind of the same around here. There's a couple farmers markets. I'm really excited to try one. Kind of, it's like an hour away, but I'm excited to try that one. None of the grocery stores have organic food in there. Like literally none. You have to go to like Springfield to get organic produce, from what I'm gathering. But I think the biggest difference between buying like at a grocery store and buying from a farmer is that more of the money goes to the farmer. So they're able to actually sustain themselves better because you're not paying the middleman. You're not paying the truck drivers. Like, you're going to the farm, you're picking up the food. And so all that money goes into the farmer's pocket. So number one, they can be sustained on, less. They don't have to do the huge agricultural route. Like, they can actually do like the CSA style, or like go on you pick farm, that kind of thing. Like, I'm really looking forward to being able to figure all that stuff out. I've only been here a week, and like already I had no clue. Like, you can't even buy raw milk in the grocery store. You have to buy it from the farm. So it's like you have to go and meet a local farmer, because you have to go to their farm to pick up the raw milk, which thankfully at least I can buy it. But like, you can't go to like there's no Whole Foods, but if you pretend there's a Whole Foods, you couldn't go there to get the raw milk, which sucks. So I have to figure all that kind of stuff out. I was doing a little bit of that last night, and I was like, oh gosh, this is different. But I think a big part of it is just connecting with them. They have a better relationship with you. You know them, you can see the farm, and more of that money that you pay goes in their pocket. So, which is a good thing in my book.
Yeah. I think the biggest difference is the actual diversity in what you're going to be able to find. Stuff that has to be shipped, even if it's organic, it has to be able to be shipped and withstand transportation, and it still has to be picked early. It's not ripe. And so I think you're just not getting that diversity of all the different types of plants and things that you can get by getting stuff that's grown locally. Because things that are local, a lot of times they're not going to be shippable. Your lettuces and stuff, you can't ship a lot of that stuff. I mean, they do, but your nice locally grown stuff isn't going to last long enough to do that. You get it fresh. You buy your fresh local tomatoes that aren't, sprayed with the gas to make them red, and they haven't been picked 3 weeks early when they're green. So yeah, I think just getting the diversity that's involved with local farms and having more native things that are grown around you. So yeah, I think that's a big difference in we lost Constance. She'll be back. She'll be back.
Yeah, and I know one of the farmers that I support the most. There she is. Oh, sorry about that, but you're here. So one of the farmers that I support the most is an Amish farm that's just, I mean, about a mile from my house, and they do use some, but they don't use machinery. So it's like, everything is horse or hand tilled or whatever. So what's in their soil, I actually feel pretty good about. And some of the sprays that they use, I mean, I'm not a huge fan of it, but they don't have petroleum in their dirt, so that's good. Although we do till, so that's whatever. But anyway, so that's one of the benefits of using a local farmer is that you can ask them, how do you farm? How do you manage your pests? How do you manage your weeds and things like that? And I also had another thought. Another thought that I was going to say, our local news actually reported how a lot of the local farmers here have not yet raised their prices. Now, a friend of mine commented on that post and was like, no, the eggs that I normally buy have gone up at the farmer's market. But they were saying that a lot of like the produce and things where it's going up crazily in the stores has not yet gone up with the local farmers. So that might be another good incentive to check out and see what's going on.
Yeah, there was a report too that said that egg prices could go up as high as $12 a dozen later this year.
Yeah.
Wow. Can you imagine? Is that on just the regular cheapo eggs, or is that on like the good stuff? Could you imagine how much the good stuff is going to cost?
I know, it didn't say, it just gave a blanket statement.
Wow.
So it probably is the regular stuff then, if they didn't say otherwise.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
It's crazy. Okay, so let's see. Am I in the right section? You guys are being really quiet. Oh, there you. Okay, I was gonna say you're being really quiet in the chat. Let's see. Kathy said, and that's commercial eggs. So it is commercial eggs. Yeah, it's if you've ever been thinking about getting chickens or starting a garden or supporting local farmers, it's all going to cost about the same. But at least you have more control over your food supply if you are doing it yourself or what have you. It's just, things are going to get tough.
Yeah,
Okay.
I agree too that if you establish those relationships with those farmers now, when things do get tough and everyone else is flocking to those same farmers to try to get something, you will already be a customer and they will probably tend to sell to you before they sell to all the brand new people that are coming their way. That may not always be the case, but I think around here that's definitely the case. It's that, hey, we're going to take care of my neighbor first before I take care of the stranger that comes. And so it's the same for us. We have around here a lot of hay farmers, and that's how we're going to secure our hay for our cows. Just stuff like that. We make sure, like, there's a hay farm 2 doors down. I'm going to make sure that's the person that I secure my hay from, because I can get it 2 doors down. And you know what? They're going to store it for me in their barn. So I don't even have to do anything except for go pick it up and bring it next door when I need it. So there are lots of good ways to establish those relationships with those farmers, and they're grateful for your business. They're all grateful for your business. So yeah. Anyway.
And something else I would suggest also is maybe creating your own almost I'm not really a commune, but community
Mhm.
of other people. Like say in your neighborhood you're not allowed to have chickens, but you have a friend who does. Maybe they get a couple extra chickens and you chip in with the feed, or the expense and all that, like split the cost. And then, maybe you can garden, you could grow something that they could use. and
Mhm.
and just, I mean, I really think the whole bartering system is going to be a big thing in the future.
I agree. And I was thinking, like, maybe you got sourdough starter. You can offer to supply them their sourdough bread for the week. And then in exchange with the eggs, or something like that. I think that's a wonderful idea. And I 100% agree that, that is really something that we all need to be considering. What skills do you have? What can you produce on your own homestead that you can use in return for goods that you can't produce for yourself? I think it's a great idea. My neighbor across the street has big, beautiful apple trees, and they use like neem oil and things like that. So we sometimes will give him eggs, and I also share out of the garden too. So it's a nice little system we've got going. But I do definitely want to expand to other people with other things. I think that's a really, really great idea.
Yeah, last year we got in with a couple of our neighbors. They're not exactly next door neighbors, but we raised meat birds together. So instead of doing it on one person's property, we did it all, well, we did it all on one property, but it wasn't on ours. So we took turns doing the chores with the animals. So like 1 week would be our week, week would be the other family, and then there was a third family. And then we all got together in the end and we did the processing together, which helped a lot because we had, 12 or 13 people processing versus 2 or 3. So that was actually a beautiful way to do it. We're not doing it that way this year. We're raising our own here on our homestead, but it is a pretty good way to do it if you don't have a lot of options.
Yeah, that's really, really awesome. And I like the idea too, people that live near you. If you don't have a lot of space in your yard to garden, maybe they don't want to garden, but they don't mind if you use space in their yard for a garden. You can say, if you will let me garden in this much of your yard, then you can have all of the fresh produce out of it you want. Go out and pick your tomatoes and pick your cucumbers. There's definitely ways that you can make it happen. And with things being the way they are, I think more people are going to be open to those kinds of ideas. And really, everything that we've just talked about, I think we've kind of hit like every section in this chapter. We've talked about choosing local, eat ecologically grown produce from your local farmer. Talked about the pasture-raised chickens from your local farmer. And again, if you want to spend $25 on a chicken, go for it. But raising some of your own, or like you said, getting with a friend to raise a whole bunch at once, then having a big butchering day, I think that's probably the best way to go. Of course, we talked about pastured eggs. Okay, so beef. That is something that we've done recently. Is we purchased a cow from a guy that we go to church with. The cows are grass fed. I don't think they're not grass finished though. But still, I mean, I'm happy with what we got. And what's really great about being able to purchase a whole cow is that you pay one flat per pound fee, right? So I think ours, I can't remember what I said ours ended up being at the end, but it was like $6 and some change a pound, which if you're thinking ground beef, you're like, whoa, that's a lot. However, we paid $6 a pound for filet mignon and for T-bone and for ribeye, and those cuts are like what, 20 something dollars at the store right now.
They're like 30 now.
Oh really? 30. Yeah. So that it really, and again, you don't have to buy the whole cow. You can go in with 4 people and each of you get a quarter of the cow, and you're still going to come out way better per pound than you would at the grocery store. Anything I want to add on? Any experience or anything I want to, or tips?
Yeah, I can add in for the beef part. beef. I don't anymore. Well, we do still raise beef. We just don't eat beef anymore. But yeah, we have done the thing where we have a whole cow butchered, and that usually lasts us for 2 years. I mean, a whole cow is a lot of meat. You probably don't need that much, but a half a cow will definitely last a family of 4 to 6 for at least a year. And so I think it's a great way to do it. I mean, the price, you can't beat it. It's just, you got to have the money up front to buy the whole thing. And a lot of times that's where people run into the problem, is they are like, I don't have, $1,000 at one time, or whatever it ends up being. I don't know, but that's hard to do, but it still ends up being so much cheaper in the long run to do it that way. If you have the ability. And right now, man, I would do whatever I could to get a half a cow in my freezer. It's just, the price is going to just go up. It's going to go up. For the regular the farmer that you get it from, it's going to continue to go up.
Yeah, and another benefit of being able to purchase part of a cow or a whole cow is that you don't just get the meat. You also get the organs, you get the fat, you get the bones, and you can make soups. You can make stock, broth, tallow, all of those wonderful things that you can't just, and tallow, like if you go to the store to buy grass-fed tallow from a grass-fed cow, it's super expensive, but you got so much when you're able to do it yourself. And it's so easy. I know I have a video on doing it. I think Julie has one. Do y'all have one on rendering? Yeah. And then we also have videos on making broth and how to can it if you want to can it or freeze it. It's really easy. You just do it in your crock pot, or do it in your electric roasting pan. It's super easy to do, and so incredibly healthy and good for you.
And you get to pick all your cuts of meat too. We didn't even talk about that. Like, you get to decide, hey, do I want steaks? Do I want ground beef? Based on the different parts of the cow that you have available to you, you can make different decisions. And I think that's nice that you can kind of customize for what your family likes to eat. If you like all ground and you don't want steaks and you don't want roast, you can grind up the entire cow if you want to. But yeah, there's just so many options with doing something like that.
We had to do that to a moose once when we lived in Alaska. It was so tough you couldn't chew it. So it all got ground up. But I would also recommend doing as much canning of the meat right now as you can, because the Department of Energy, I think it was predicting brownouts and blackouts all over the country this summer.
Yeah.
So
good times ahead.
Gotta love a good controlled demolition, huh?
Yep. Okay, so the Practical Bites 57. It also talks about doing the same thing with your pigs, which we have not done that, but we need to. Okay, so Practical Bite 57, meet your local farmer. And I know we've already talked about this, but there are so many awesome things about meeting your farmer, and it's also going to roll into thanking your farmers. When you get to meet your farmer, you get to ask them again, what were they fed? What did you spray? How do you do this? How do you do that? You can also ask them, what's your favorite way to eat this cut of meat? How do you prepare a cow tongue? I don't know. There's so many wonderful benefits to meeting your farmer, picking their brain, and they want that relationship with the people that they serve. And it's also a good time to thank your farmer for all of their hard work. It's definitely I don't think a farmer will ever get rich off of just farming. All the farmers that I know also have another job. Sometimes they'll drive school buses just so they can have insurance for their family. It's definitely something where I think a lot more work goes into it than what you actually get out of it, as far as, monetarily speaking. Y'all have any thoughts?
I agree. It's a
Yeah,
lot of work
it's all
goes
true.
into it, and they don't make a whole lot of money. So it's definitely that. That's another reason why buying locally from your farmers is so key, because more of that money that you're already paying gets to go in their pocket instead of some distributor or some mega corporation. Goes to go right into their pockets. So super important to buy local.
Were you gonna say something, Julie?
I was going to say, when you do go to your local farmer's market or meet your farmer, always ask them if they have like a bumper crop of something. Do they have, like, if you're trying to do some canning or something like that? Not all of them bring everything to market every week. And so I would go, when I didn't have something growing that I wanted, to preserve, I would ask them, hey, do you have extra okra? Do you have extra beans? Do you have extra whatever? And if they do, they will gladly sell you everything they have. I'm like, hey, do you have 50 pounds of sweet potatoes? Because I'll take that. And they're like, whoa, because most of the time people are coming and they're buying 2 or 3 zucchinis or 2 or 3, potatoes, and they're just getting a little bit for the week. So they want to sell their crops. They did not grow those crops to, bring them back home or to feed them to their pigs. Even though they will do that, they would much rather sell you the produce that they have. So ask if they were willing to sell stuff in bulk, and a lot of them will. So you just have to be willing to talk to them about it. And you only know that if you talk to them.
And that's another key to buying local and getting to know your farmers. They get to know you, and they know, like, hey, I have, 30 pounds of extra blueberries. Like, I don't know what to do with them. Hey, do you want these? I'll bring them to the market to you on Saturday. Like, stuff like that can totally happen, I'm sure, over time. I've never gotten super local with the farmers market, but around here I'm definitely going to have to, and I'm definitely going to. So I'm definitely excited for that kind of stuff.
Yeah, we have a neighbor about a quarter mile down the road. It's 2 guys that 2 twin brothers, and they farm. They do tomatoes in the summer. They do collards in the winter. And when it's getting to the end of the season, they always call and say, hey, you can come pick whatever you want. Pick the rest of the tomatoes. Pick whatever collard greens. And I'm like, heck yeah. So if I have a bad tomato year, I know I'm going to go over there and pick a big box of tomatoes, and it's nothing to them because they've got 1,000 tomato plants out there, and they're like, we're tired of picking tomatoes. We don't want to pick any more tomatoes. Come get what you want, And so that's a blessing to have that. But you have to meet people, and you have to reciprocate the relationship with them and offer things to them in return. So that way they think of you when there are excess times.
Yeah, and that's a great. I mean, can you imagine getting that phone call? Like, Pike Creek Farm just said that she asked the same question to a local potato farmer and got 30 pounds. Can you imagine if they just called you and said, "Hey, I've got like 3 bushels of potatoes that I can't do anything with. Do you want them?" Like, let me get my wallet. I'll be there in a second. That would be awesome. Okay, so subsidies. For those who don't, hey, Boston Rocks, glad you're here. For those who don't know what a subsidy is, can one of y'all give like a 30-second spiel on what it is, and then we can talk about why we need to avoid them?
Basically, subsidies are where you have all of these lobbyists who go and petition Congress and pay off everybody there, so that in return they will get the government will pay certain amounts of money to subsidize the cost of these products, typically grains and things like that. The higher the stuff that's easier to store, the grains, the beans, stuff like that, and then the government will subsidize that to make the cost of it cheaper to consumers. And they only do it really with those, the things that get paid for.
Yeah, exactly. We're basically, the taxpayers are providing crop insurance essentially to make sure that those crops come to fruition, and that we have corn and soy and all those sugar beets and those things that get put into everything. They want to make sure we keep having more of those. And so there's like 7 or 8 big crops that basically the government is going to make sure keep getting produced. and they're going to pay the farmers to keep producing them. And yeah, I don't think we're ever going to get away from that, but we're going to have to try to avoid those products. And that's what they're referring to, is just don't eat or use the products that are being subsidized, which is corn and soy and wheat. Maybe, I don't know. Wheat, is that on the list too? I need to look.
Yeah, it's corn, soy, wheat, rice, sugar, and cotton, which
Yeah,
it touches every part of our life.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
From our clothes, from our fuel, if you get, anything with ethanol in it. So yeah, it's definitely going to be hard to do, but they give some suggestions on how you can at least lessen how much you consume. So they said, for example, instead of using spaghetti noodles, use spaghetti squash if you like spaghetti squash, which I do. And there's some really great recipes out there. Oh, Tim Farmer's Country Kitchen. If you guys don't watch him, he's a good old boy from Kentucky, and he has a great show, it airs on our PBS, but you can also watch him on YouTube. And they're always sharing recipes, but they did an episode one time where they did 2 different spaghetti squash recipes, and I did one of them, and it's like spinach and ricotta cheese and shrimp and Parmesan. Oh, it was so good. It was so good. Anyway, all right, but I digress. I get really excited when I talk about food. Y'all just have to excuse me. So, what are some other ways that you can avoid? Okay, so here's another one talking about cotton. Cotton we use in our clothes. Hemp, as far as I know, is not currently being subsidized. So I think hemp would be a good option as far as clothing is concerned.
It's not subsidized, it's demonized.
Do what?
It's not subsidized, it's demonized because it's heavily regenerative, and they can't make as much money off of it. So, and also because the big guys don't. If you guys look into the history of how hemp and marijuana got outlawed, like, you'll be like, what the crap? It's so messed up. It's all about the Benjamins.
Yep. Yep, it all comes down to that. Money and power, which go hand in hand. Let's see. It also says leave off the bone on your burger, and add a vegetable. Buy local from your farmer, which we don't. There is a, what is it called? Hodgenville Mill. I think anybody from Kentucky. I don't know if anybody from Kentucky is in here, but there is a Kentucky source of grain, but I'm sure it's subsidized though.
I think they're in stores around here because I've heard of it.
Really?
And I've never lived in Kentucky, but I've seen that brand before.
Yeah, it's like in a brown bag.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I think it's in the natural section of the grocery store, at least here in Northern Alabama.
Yeah,
I know
I'll have to pay more attention to that. But okay, so moving on, we were 30 minutes in. Practical Bite 60. Eat mindfully. Instead of eating while distracted, sit down at a table and focus on your food. Do y'all do that? No.
We don't.
I love sitting down in front of the TV and eating my dinner. It is like how I decompress for the day.
There's weird bugs around here, man.
He's huge. I knew you were freaked about bugs.
Yeah, I've got to get used to this, man.
It'll be okay, Anna. Before long, you'll realize that there's about 6 weeks of the year where there's no bugs, and you'll love those 6 weeks.
I'm gonna take a picture of it so you guys can tell me what the heck this is, so I can stop freaking out. It's huge.
Yeah, I was gonna say. So my family.
Just text it to me, Anna.
Look at it. What is that? Oh, those. I don't know what the name of them are.
Leaf-legged bug.
A what?
Leaf-legged bug.
Oh, yeah.
They can get really big.
Yeah, they will get really big. You'll catch them mating on your cabbages and whatnot.
Is it gonna bite me?
I don't think so. I don't think so.
Okay. It's just sitting there now. Sorry, that was weird. It was like all over. I apologize. I'm not trying to distract people.
That's okay.
No, it's quite entertaining, actually.
It went over there. It's okay
Did
now.
you answer the Marco where I asked you if you had seen lightning bugs yet?
I didn't, but I had the same exact reaction. I was like, oh my gosh, I've never seen a lightning bug before. And then I looked it up and I realized that if you don't want to be made fun of, you have to call it a lightning bug, not a
Firefly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what we're referring to, I had a friend that moved from the Washington area, and then she lived with us for several months. And when the day she arrived, she said, I need to go to Walmart to get some stuff. I said, okay. So we stepped out and she went like that, which made my heart like drop down into my stomach. I'm like, what? And she goes, you have them here? And I said, what? And she goes, fireflies. And I said, you mean lightning bugs? And I know when I said it, it probably sounded just as Southern as a Georgia peach, but yeah, I was like, you mean lightning bugs? Anyway, and she goes, yeah. And then she, copied me. She's like, lightning bugs. It was really funny. But anyway, that's cool. Things you take for granted when you grow up around that kind of stuff. Like, it's definitely, as a child, they were like pure joy at night, chasing those things, catching them. It's good stuff.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, I agree. Waking up with a bunch of dead ones in a jar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sweet little fireflies. Oh, me. All right. Moving on. Let's see. Okay, meditate daily. Now, this is something that I don't really do. I mean, I pray, but I don't meditate. Spend 5 minutes a day practicing meditation. Don't let man define meditation for you. Nature walks. Well, okay. Maybe I should take that back then. I love being in the garden, but I'm always doing something. And I'm not just sitting still. You know what I mean? But for me, being in the garden does something to me. It does something with my stress level. I'm working, I'm sweating, I'm getting burned, I'm getting bit, but I love every second of it. So what about y'all? Do y'all do anything? We're going to say that prayer is a given, but is there anything that you do outside of that you would consider meditating, or something that you get the benefits of the same?
That's very similar. And mowing on the tractor. Like my 6 hours every week, just back and forth in the pasture. That's my happy place.
I watched this one commercial that was like this mom with all these 3 young kids, and like she's like, I finally figured it out. And so she's out there, she throws on the hat and she gives the kids to the dad and is like out there on the mower just doing that. And she's like, I figured out why he likes it so much. But yeah, just gardening. Gardening is about it. I love cooking. Outside, because the house they had a lot of pets before. The people before were waiting for the carpet to get installed tomorrow, and it smells like a freaking wet dog peed everywhere. And so I'd rather deal with the bugs outside than be inside. So that's
oh my god! Yeah. I don't have a that's like I would call a meditation, but I do try like in the morning when I first get up. It's super early before I do anything. I just try to get my coffee and just go outside and just take a minute and listen to the birds waking up and just things, nature starting to get up around me. That's probably the extent of it. And then I do also like to cut grass or bush hog. I'll put my headset in, and this is not meditative, but I just listen to whatever songs are tickling my fancy that day. Usually it's some kind of gangster rap or something. My neighbors and I sing it as loud as possible, and I'm out there on my tractor gangster rapping it. My husband just laughs. He's like, oh my gosh, she's at it again. So yeah, a little Snoop Dogg and some of that to brighten my day. So yeah, just let loose. So yeah, if you're ever in the area, need an old school rap concert from a tractor, I'm your girl.
I used to do that sometimes with like Adele or something with like some like lyrics to it, and I can't sing for anything. So it's like I'm just out there with my headphones in. I can't hear me, and I don't care who does. I'm just like going to town, but I don't listen to music anymore. But I listen to a good podcast for sure.
That's that's awesome. I don't know any gangster rap, but I can do Ice Ice Baby like nobody's business.
I'm quite embarrassed because I probably know way too many words to way too many songs. I can't help it. That was my generation that I grew up in, and we listened to a lot of hip hop. I say gangster rap. That's not really true. It's hip hop. It's mostly hip hop and, just that stuff.
Salt and pepper?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That my very first album I ever bought was Salt and Pepper. And the first cassette I ever bought was Beastie Boys. I still love it.
Oh,
Sorry,
I
I
love Beastie
didn't
Boys.
grow up listening to country. I listen to country now, but I grew up listening to gangster rap.
Me. So yeah, meditation doesn't look the same for everybody. Oh, we're talking about grounding. Grounding is awesome. And did you know, and I did not realize this until maybe last year or the year before, and I don't even remember where I heard it, but that sitting by the ocean, it's like sitting next to a Himalayan salt lamp, but on steroids. Like just being near the ocean because of all the salt water, it has the same ionic effect, which I thought that was, I'm like, well, duh. No wonder it feels so awesome sitting at the beach. I really want to go. I was telling my brother, they're going to the lake, but I was like, I want to go I don't even necessarily want to get in the water. I just want to sit by the water, but on the beach, feel the warm sun stinging my skin, read a book, smell the smells, hear the sounds, all that stuff.
I heard with grounding, if you walk on like the dewy grass, it is like infinitely more powerful than walking on like a dry grass. Like something with the water and like the earth and like all that, like it just brings it all together. It's like a conductor almost for your body, the water. All right.
Lost our hostess, I think.
We lost her. Tangi!
We can't bring you. Oh my goodness. Kathy, we're not trying to make you feel old.
Okay, sorry about that.
Feeling old together.
I landed a little too hard in my chair. Okay. All right. So are we? Sorry, I had to let my dogs out. Now I feel lost. Okay, so we're going on to. Oh, we were talking about grounding and how awesome it is. Okay, so moving on. Now we are in section 5, talking about chapter 7, shift from locally grown to homegrown whole food. I think we've probably talked this to death, but just saying it again. Okay, number 1, grow one herb in your kitchen. Whatever your favorite herb is, whatever you find that you put in your food the most, grow that thing. One edible plant indoors. I think that's kind of redundant, but you can do microgreens, super easy. You don't really need a lot of special equipment. You just need a shallow dish, some dirt, and some seeds. And then there you go. What's the next section? And which, by the way, microgreens are so incredibly nutrient dense. It's ridiculous. And so somebody left a comment on one of my videos that in Australia right now where she lives, iceberg lettuce is nearing $10 a head. $10. And of course, lettuce doesn't have a lot of nutritional value. So microgreens.
I just heard a report this morning. There was a restaurant here in the United States that's putting cabbage on their burgers instead of lettuce.
Yeah, and that was another thing she said. She said that KFC in Australia, they're not putting lettuce on their sandwiches anymore.
That might have been it.
Crazy. So yeah, microgreens, super easy. When you go to Dollar Tree, get on Baker Creek, M.I. Gardner, Haas Tools, seeds for generations, traditional or not traditional. What's the other word? Anyway, find seeds. There's you can Google lists of microgreens. I know beets, broccoli, cabbage, sunflowers, peas,
Radishes, all the
brassicas.
yeah, all the brassicas.
Yeah. Yep. Sprout them, eat them, use them in place of lettuce. Which goes on to the next part. Grow your sprouts. Okay. Start a small garden. You don't have to have a tiller. You just need scraps, grass clippings, leaves, wood chips, all these things that you can find for free. Start saving your scraps in a bucket. Don't put meat in it because it will stink. But eggshells, coffee grounds, tea grounds, if you get some paper that's like not bleached, you can put that in there. What are some other things? All of your vegetable scraps, except for the ones you want to put in broth.
You didn't say it. Paper towels.
Yeah, paper towels is a good one.
Newspaper and paper towels, cardboard, as long as it's not inked up too bad.
Coffee filters.
So you're talking about composting, right? Is that what you're talking about?
Yes.
So sticks, leaves, any vegetable scraps, anything that's not been cooked has to be raw. Has to be raw.
Ask your family, ask your friends to save theirs. Don't look just in your yard. Go to a park. As long as it's not illegal, you can pick up, leaves and clippings and things like that. If you have a friend that has a mowing service, if you watch David the Good, I can't remember off the top of my head what the name of his channel is, but he did a really easy, simple video on making a lasagna garden. You're putting down your barrier first, which is cardboard, which you can get at any store for free. All you have to do is ask them where it is, and they will be happy to give it to you. And then on top of that, I think it was dirt. Then you want to make sure you've got some green stuff and some brown stuff, and then wet it all down. And then over time that breaks down, and then it creates a really great gardening spot. But you can plant in it right away. Just mix in a little bit of potting mix or some topsoil, and then plant right in there. You can plant in containers. I've seen people do Rubbermaid totes. You can use cardboard boxes. Just try to shore up the sides some way. I've seen people putting chicken wire fencing around it, which is super cheap in hardware stores and farm stores. Goodness, what are some other out of the box things? You can grow in a straw bale. Mm-hmm. There's lots of different ways. Kiddie pool. Yep.
Yeah.
That's
Jess,
right.
Ruth and Refuge has a couple videos on how to do that.
Yeah,
you can grow literally right out of a soil bag. She did that too.
Your bag is compost and plant into it. I've seen people do that. There's a million ways to grow food.
If you do, I just want to throw in one little thing. If you do end up trying to get leaves and grass clippings from places, you just need to make sure that you're careful at knowing whether or not they spray. Because if they spray, I know in Washington, they made it illegal to use glyphosate in public parks and things like that. So in Washington, it would be safe, but not necessarily everywhere.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So what we're trying to say is it can be done. Mm-hmm. It's not a one size fits all. You just have to think out of the box. And at this point, anything that you can grow will give you some relief on your grocery budget. It will be a lot healthier. You'll have more control over it, and just do it.
You see Kathy there says that Walmart throws the kiddie pools out in the dumpster at the end of the season.
Holy cow.
To get some raised garden beds.
Wow.
Yeah, exactly.
We went to the dump the other day near our house, and someone... Y'all are going to appreciate this. I've talked to you guys about it already. Someone left behind at the dump 3 of those massive metal troughs that you feed or water animals with. And I was like, somebody left these at the dump. So we got them, all 3 of them. big ones, and we planted in all 3 of them. So yeah, you just got to keep your eyes open. There are containers everywhere, and you can get a lot of them for free. So you just got to look. You got to know who to ask. Go to your, this is for small situation, but most of your floral departments at your grocery stores will give away their black buckets that they put the flowers in. They get new ones every single week, and they throw the old ones away. I go in there, you can get 20 buckets at a time if you just talk to the florist and say, hey, what do you guys do? I just offered, I said, hey, can I buy some of those buckets from you? And they're like, oh no, we just throw them away. Here, take what you want. Come back next week, you can get some more. So try that. Those, they don't last a long time, but you could get a season of growth out of them. You could grow a couple tomatoes or some beans or something like that. So lots of options out there.
Yep. And if you are handy with a sewing machine, I saw where Texas Mom, she got a whole bunch of landscape fabric, and she's just making grow bags like you would not believe, just lots and lots of them. What was I going to say? Oh, another free resource is wood chips. If you see a tree service somewhere near your house cutting up trees, ask them if they need a place to drop it. We've got like so much wood chips. It's awesome. And what's even better, okay, so they dropped that stuff off last year for us, right? Well, we didn't get to use it because of what happened with our house. So it's been sitting there for a year. And so underneath, now that we're like getting down to the bottom, it is like gold. So I actually used it to fill some containers. And so, yeah, so if you have the ability to let it sit for a year, there's some good stuff under there, lots of worms, and the dirt is really dark. It is awesome. And also straw is really good to do that with too. If you can get some and set it back and let it age and break down, that ends up being a really great growing medium and mulch as well. Okay.
I often will make like a cold frame out of straw bales and old windows. Before I got my greenhouse, I did that every year. That's how I transitioned all of my plants from indoors to being ready for the garden. And every time I would pick up those straw bales after a couple of months, you turn it over and there was just worms everywhere. So I just took that straw and I used it to mulch my garden, because then I was putting worms into my garden.
Yep, that's awesome. Okay, so fertilizer, that's another thing that we can talk about really quick, because we know that there's a fertilizer shortage because of what's happening overseas, but that's okay because you can make your own. If you take weeds, leaves, grass, green stuff, put it in a 5-gallon bucket, fill it with water, let it sit for a couple of weeks. It's disgusting, but it is full of all of the things that your garden loves. It is a compost tea, and it's free and it's easy. You just have to deal with the smell.
Yeah, all of your weeds can be turned into fertilizer that way. And if you have comfrey has that deep root system, and it can get into nutrients that all the other plants can't get. And man, you start some comfrey, it only takes a little bitty piece of a root to start one, and then you can start multiple. I'm going to line my new garden fence with comfrey and have it all down through there. And those plants, you can chop the whole thing down, like 2 or 3 times, maybe more a year. It'll grow right back, and all of that is super rich fertilizer for your garden. You can lay it down, just the leaves, just straight up lay them down as mulch, or you can make a tea out of them. I mean, it's practically free.
Yeah. Yep. So there's so many different things that you can do. Okay, so the next one is cover your soil, which we've talked about, and they said anything brown, so cardboard, paper, the dead leaves, wood chips, all of that stuff. Create your own compost, which we've already talked about. Also manure, you can get manure from anywhere. Just don't use dog poop or cat poop, but pretty much any livestock. If you
no pigs. You should not use pig poop.
Oh, okay.
Use pig poop as compost. I don't remember why, but you should not. I've been told that it's similar to cat poop. It's not good. So don't use pig poop. Any of the other poops are fine though, but not pig poop.
Okay.
That's what I've always been told. Now, I don't know. Maybe y'all know something different, but I was always told not to do pig poop.
I think you just have to break it down much longer. I think because a lot of the pig stuff is very similar to like the way that humans, like with a lot of their stuff. So it's probably just it needs to be broken down for a lot longer.
Because human poop is like what, 2 years? Human manure is
Minimum,
2
I think,
years. Compost is
Yeah.
1 year. Yeah. So compost, and again, ask family, ask friends. Hey, if you're not saving it for yourself, I know that some farmers markets, they will even have like big tubs for the farmers if you can bring your scraps. And I've also seen that at restaurants too, that are local food minded. So yeah, just ask around and ask them if you can have their food scraps. Even provide them a bucket, like Constant was, or was it Julie that was talking about the buckets? Get you a free 5-gallon bucket, take it to different places, ask them to fill it for you, and then pick it up once a week. Okay, add a solarium on your home, and they recommend doing a cattle panel. But there's a lot of different ways, like Constance was saying, with the straw bales and the old windows. We were driving down the road I guess it was a couple of days ago, and there were like the long windows. Somebody had them setting out by the road, and I was like, "Oh, we should get that," but we didn't. But probably should have. What are some other things? So you talked about the cold frame. You can do. I know the stivers. Our hoop house that we're gonna be building is basically what they do, which is the cattle panels, the greenhouse plastic, and pallets is what we're planning on using. What are some other things that y'all can think of?
We've tried a couple different things. We've done like the cattle panel hoop house kind of thing. They all are okay. We've always covered them with plastic. I guess that's just because they're temporary, but I don't have a need for a greenhouse. I personally find greenhouse type situations to be too hot most of the time. The only time I need a greenhouse is for about 6 weeks right in the dead of winter, and I really don't have that many things that would need to go into a greenhouse. I don't use a greenhouse. I don't think you need one. I really don't. I think you can do so much. There are so many things that are seasonal that you can grow in the time of year that you're in that you don't necessarily have to do a greenhouse. But I still want a greenhouse because they're so cute. I
In
want one.
Washington, it's really difficult to grow large amounts of crops without a greenhouse. If we didn't have a greenhouse in that last year, I never would have been able to grow the amount of tomatoes that I did because it's just too much. Like it's too much to be able to fill it up, and you have to have space for it. And having them inside, like underneath grow lights, it's impractical. So I think it just depends on where you are. Like if you're in Georgia, you don't need it, but if you're in like Washington or somewhere further north, or here, we're planning on building a greenhouse here. It kind of just depends on where you're at as far as how much of a priority you need to put on something like that. You don't have to have one, but like they're nice.
Yeah, when I lived in Alaska, I mean, if you plan on growing anything up there, you're going to have a greenhouse because the growing season's so short.
Yeah.
I mean, you get 24 hours of sun, which is amazing, but there's still snow on the ground in June, and then it's back in September. So,
no, thank you.
Wanda says doesn't understand the difference between a greenhouse and a high tunnel. A greenhouse is temperature controlled, if I'm not mistaken. It's heated some way. Some people use electric, some people use a wood stove, and a high tunnel is like a greenhouse without the temperature control. Okay, so the next practical bite. Oh, and then rabbit poop. That reminded me of something. If you live in an HOA that does not allow livestock, rabbits are a really great underground livestock to have. You can eat them, and their poop is awesome. You can use it directly on the garden wood. It's like hot and steaming because it won't burn. Well, maybe not hot and steaming, but like, after it's cooled off a minute, you can put it right on your plants. And also I was thinking, with things being the way they are, I think that if you live in an HOA that does not allow backyard birds or rain catchment or anything like that, you get enough people to sign a petition to at least lighten the restrictions until things ease up, if they ever do ease up. You can see about having those rules changed. And if they don't and you can't move, then have friends on the outside of the HOA, on the outside, and see if you can do it on their property if they'll let you. So the next one is catch the rain. This is something that we do have a one rain barrel, and I really, really want to increase the amount because, as Constance talked about in the beginning, they're talking about rolling brownouts and blackouts that are going to be possibly affecting the whole country, which we've never had that here ever. But that also, if we were also hearing some people that were predicting that we're going to have a very, very hot summer, unseasonably hot. How they know that, it's like, are they controlling that too? I don't know. But I would like to be able to catch more rain, to be able to have my own rain. And I would love to have it right there by the garden. Where we currently have ours right now is right by the coop. So we can water the dogs and the chickens from that. But I would love to be able to have it right by the garden. So the barrel that we have, this is what I'm getting to. The barrel that we have, our pastor actually found them on Facebook Marketplace, bunches of them for like $5 a piece. You just had to wash them out really good because they were used on the farms. They had some sort of, I can't remember what was in it, but he pressure washed them out and then filled it with, I think it was like Dawn dish soap and water, and let that sit. And then he pressure washed it out again. And then he let it sit in the sun and in the elements for, I don't even remember how long, but basically to make sure that whatever was in there is out. And then on the side of our garage, when the gutters were put on, we had the downspout cut. And so it sits right under the downspout. And so this rain that we just had like overflowed it. So you would be amazed how much water comes off of a roof. It is insane. Like insane, gallons and gallons and gallons. And one good rain, you can get, I mean, I don't even know how many gallons you can get off of one rain. So, but you have to be careful because there are places, who was it? When we were at HOA, this couple came up and was talking to the Stivers, and they live in New Jersey, and where they live, rain catchment is illegal. It wasn't an HOA. I don't know if it's the whole state or just the town that they lived in. That catching rain is illegal, y'all. Talk about government overreach. Wow. That's insane.
That's criminal to me.
Yeah.
Technically in Washington, that's the case too, but I think they don't enforce it.
That's crazy.
I think they pass these laws so where people just don't notice it. And then whenever they're ready to come in and start enforcing it, they're like, well, it's been the law for 10 years.
Yeah.
Yeah. As a tool to control people.
Right. Water rights are a serious issue in places where there are lots of droughts. So they're like, no, if there's water coming down, it needs to be flowing into the main cistern or whatever, wherever things get collected. They're like, no, you don't get to keep any extra for yourself. It goes into the public good or whatever they call it. But yeah, water rights is serious, especially like
Sorry.
Yeah, I'm glad I don't have to deal with that. We don't have as many of those restrictions here where we are, but I don't agree with them, but I do see why they do it. But yeah, it's like damming up a creek that's on your property, but how does that affect the people downstream who also rely on the creek potentially, stuff like that. So yeah, I don't know. Water rights are a hard thing to get around.
And I see that Wanda said, how do you keep mosquitoes from breeding in your rain catchment barrels? You got to cover them with a screen or something like that. In my experience, you just have to keep it covered. That's all I know. Just put a screen on it, like a window screen. Like you can get that material and you can make a fitted cover for it. That should keep them out.
Yeah, you buy it by the roll. And so it's like you would find it in a hardware store. So that way, like if you had to repair the screen on your window or door, but yeah, like what you said, and that's like perfect. And you can just secure it with like a bungee cord or something like that.
And with a lot of the barrels, they'll come with like we have barrels They're like food grade barrels. They're we keep our feed in it, and it comes with the screw top. It's almost like a canning lid. It's separate, and so you could even create one and screw it on with the lid. It depends on the barrel.
Sorry about that. My dogs are barking at the shadows. Okay, so we are actually already over the time, but we are like have dogs, they said. Okay. Okay. So number 70, save money by preserving one fruit or vegetable. And I agree. And if you're feeling froggy, do more. Canning, dehydrating, freezing, fermenting, all kinds of wonderful ways. We all have preserving videos. The dog. But yeah, it's tomatoes are super easy. Water bath canning is easier to do, I think, than pressure canning as far as your resources. Now, actual preserving, I love pressure canning, but I know pressure canners are hard to find right now, and they can be expensive when you do find them. But before you do that, make sure that you learn there are things that you cannot water bath can that have to be pressure canned. To me, tomatoes are like the easiest thing to water bath can. Let's see. Anything that y'all want to add to that quickly before we move on?
There's other ways to do it as well. That you can dehydrate it, you can ferment it, you can even freeze it. I mean, technically, you're preserving it if you put it in your freezer. You're still saving it for later, and you're buying it at the low cost, so you can use it when it's expensive later.
Exactly. And also, when it comes to dehydrating and drying things out, you don't have to have. I am so sorry. Hang on.
She's got to get them.
I'm trying to think what she's trying to say with that.
I don't know. Probably it takes up less space. She may have been getting at when you dehydrate it, it takes up a lot less room. You can store it in a smaller location.
And you can store it like at room temperature.
Right. Yeah, it can be shelf stable versus having to be refrigerated, frozen, and all that kind of stuff. So, so yeah. Did you get them, Tangi? Poor pups.
They're gotten. It's the barking. It throws me off so bad. Okay. So what were y'all saying?
We were trying to figure out what you were trying to say with that. So
we thought hydrating makes things smaller, less space. Well,
yes, that. But also, you don't have to have any special equipment for that. You can set them out to dry in the sun. I mean, there's sun-dried tomatoes. You know, just do your research. There's a way to do it. I've even seen where people go to Dollar Tree and they buy the toy things that you hang. You know what I'm talking about? It looks like a tube, but it's got like little.
Are you talking about like the shoe shelves?
Maybe the shoe shelves, yeah. And then they hang them up outside, and then but you also have to remember your humidity and things like that. But it can be done. It can be done. And you can also use your oven. You don't have to have a food dehydrator. You can use your oven. Just do it at night or first thing in the morning so you're not heating your house up. Okay, practical bite 71. Adopt chickens and feed them chicken scraps. Yes.
Do that.
Yes. And then you can also, give them stuff out of your yard as long as you don't spray. Okay, so this one is easier said than done, but should be on everybody's radar at some point, which is relocate to a homestead. Now, with that being said, there are people that live in the city and they are killing the homestead game. They are rocking it. There's the urban homestead. They have like, what is it, 1/4 of an acre? And they grow tons of food. Oh yeah, sun oven. I want one of those. Jack was telling me this morning that he wants to get a Jackery for our preps. And I'm like, really? Because you know what else costs about the same as a Jackery? A sun oven.
What's a Jackery?
Yeah.
It's a battery. It's a battery. It's about this big. And it holds all kinds of power to, like, you can power phones and laptops and lamps, and it's like a generator, but it's not.
Gotcha.
Yeah, it's not
I've never heard of it.
gas powered.
Okay.
Yeah. you can look at that.
Aww.
You can charge a Jackery gas with a cigarette lighter thing in your car while using the Jackery to power like a little mini fridge.
So it's like an inverter almost, but that holds a battery charge.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Oh, very interesting. I would say if you are thinking about getting a sun oven, order it ASAP, because I have one. I have not used it yet, but it took me a long time to get it after I ordered it.
Yeah. I've been wanting one for years.
Me too.
But I'm like, if you get a Jackery, I get a sun oven.
It's even Steven.
Yeah, that's what I think. Okay, so relocating to a homestead. It says 1 to 5 acres. I think the main thing is getting out of cities if you can. But you can do a lot in a very small space. So there's that. Okay, become your own headliner. This is how they wrap it up, talking about what are you going to do for your health and your freedom. And I think, that's something that you're going to have to answer for yourself. I know for us, we're trying to grow as much food as possible because we know what's on it. We know where it comes from. We can put it away. We can preserve it. And we know that we're going to be healthier. And it also shortens our supply chain, which is, I think, this discussion has been so timely that it's incredible. And the best thing that you can do for your preps is to make sure you're eating healthy food so you can stay out of the hospitals, stay out of the doctor's offices, and all of that good stuff.
Somebody wants a discount code for something. What are y'all talking about?
Yeah, what you talking about, Boston Rocks?
Sun oven?
Is there a sun oven discount code?
I'm pretty sure probably Doug and Stacy have one. They talk about it a lot.
They do. Do you have one, Constance?
I'm sorry, what was that? I had a family leaving and talking to them.
Do you have a discount code for sun oven?
I do not. I use Doug and Stacy's.
Okay. All right. So yeah, you can go to Doug and Stacy's and look up their discount code. And I have seen you're not going to be able to build it just like sun oven, but there are DIYs on building your own solar powered oven.
And another option is a rocket stove.
Yep.
We have one. You can power a canner with a rocket stove with just a couple twigs.
Nice. Yeah, that would be a good one too.
But the time to learn is now, because there are intricacies to
right.
it.
I mean,
the time to learn is now.
That's one of my goals in the next few weeks is to break out the sun oven and learn how to use it before I need it.
Mm-hmm. I need to get one.
Yeah. Same. I want to learn how to bake bread and use it like a slow cooker. All those things. And then I think the Prepsteader channel, she's got a video on how to make one using a 5-gallon bucket and a shade for your car.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. All right. So we are way over time, but we have wrapped up the book. And you guys, this has been amazing. Thank you guys so much for joining us, for just for being here and for looking forward to it as much as we do. And we have our links down in the description box below. So if you are not subscribed to these other 3 ladies, we are all on Instagram. I think we are all on Facebook. And of course, we are all here on YouTube. So you can follow along with our journeys, stay in touch with us. And then, like I said, if we do one in the winter/fall, be looking for that announcement, but we're not making any promises yet. So just bear with us. And thank you guys so much. You guys have been amazing. Y'all have anything y'all want to say to close out?
Just thank you. Thank y'all for being here. We appreciate it.
Yeah, and thank you, Tangi,
Yeah.
And thank you, Tangi,
Yeah.
for organizing this. This is a
I
lot
agree.
of fun.
It has been a lot of fun. I've enjoyed it.
It definitely would have been a lot worse if you guys weren't here. So thank y'all for doing this with me. It was awesome.
It's been fun.
All right. So until next time, guys, remember to be vigilant, be prayerful, and be prepared. And we will catch y'all on the next one. Bye, guys.